Helpful for life.
Somebody better call Kenny Loggins because we're about to tell you about the danger zone! Now, pay attention because this is one of the most important things you need to know about leftovers. And that is the range between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit is the area that is so ripe for bacteria growth. It's like a sexy bacteria jacuzzi where they have sex like a bunch of rabbits. To avoid this, keep the hot food hot and the cold food cold. So if you're gonna be having that food out for a while, on the hot side, one easy way to keep it hot is using a slow cooker. Or if you want to be fancy, you could use a chafing dish like they do at the buffets. On the cold side, obviously there's the refrigerator, or if you're out and about, you could use some ice. The official FDA recommendation is to not leave food out for more than 2 hours. If you're outside and it's hotter than 90 degrees Fahrenheit, they turn that down to 1 hour. Now, a food scientist I know unofficially told me it's probably okay to double it. But again, the longer you leave stuff out, the higher risk that you're taking. Oh, and as you may imagine, some food is worse to leave out than others. Raw meat and dairy are 2 examples of things you really don't want to leave out very long. Now, I know we all have that friend who, oh, I left that pizza out all night and I ate it the next day and I was fine. Yeah, well, you know, they happen to be fine, but again, the longer you leave stuff out, the higher chances that you may get sick. So, what about the fridge and the freezer? Well, let's first talk about temperature. The fridge should be set at 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, but not lower than 32 because then it would freeze. And the freezer should be set at 0 degrees Fahrenheit or lower. Also, make sure you don't overstuff your fridge or your freezer. There needs to be space for air to circulate so it can keep that fridge and freezer at the right temperature. As a general rule of thumb, leftover food will keep in the fridge for 4 days and in the freezer for 4 months. Obviously sometimes longer, sometimes shorter, but 4 is a safe average. If you're curious about a specific item, do a quick search online and you'll find the answer you need. As a family, sometimes we keep food as long as a week. Admittedly, that's a bit on the long side, but YOLO! But how do you know how long something's been in there? Well, you have to label it when you put it in there. We like to do this just with some simple old masking tape and a Sharpie that we keep nearby. If you live with roommates or weird family members or whatever, then you can have these colored dots, which you'll see on your screen. That's one thing we used to do when we lived in a house with multiple people. That way, each person can have their own color and you know whose is whose. Now, if you have multiple people living in the same house, you should choose, do you want to have the date that something was put in there or the date that you want something to be okay to throw away? Personally, I think okay to throw away is a better system because then you can look out for each other and if something's past date, you can toss it out. That will lead to a fridge that doesn't smell and is a little less cluttered. Lastly, make sure to use those leftovers you took the time and effort to make and the time and effort to save. You don't want them to go to waste. One way to do that is to schedule a leftovers night every week. And that way you always know that's the day to clean out the fridge and put it all on your belly. Another thing you can do is keep track of what you have in the fridge in that app that you use to shop for groceries. That way you have a list of what's in the fridge and in the freezer, and you can add those things into your meal plan throughout the week. To finish off this lesson, we're going to remind you a few tips that we've given you in previous videos regarding leftovers. Use Pyrex and Snapware as your storage containers. They keep the best seals and their highest quality in general. Although a little more fragile, Pyrex and glassware have a handful of advantages over plastic. They won't deform, they don't absorb stains and odor as much, and they don't leach chemicals into your food. Although plastic only leaches a little bit of chemicals into your food, why not use Pyrex and glassware when you can? One other material that is good for storage containers is stainless steel. It has a lot of the same benefits over plastic that Pyrex and glassware do. It also is more durable. The main downside, however, is that it's not see-through and you can't microwave it. Well, that's all, folks!